Now we go to the next part, how to eliminate constraints. Our whole assignment or our whole session is focused on this, how to eliminate constraint. And we were just having a background on the constraint. So now let's move to the business part, how to eliminate constraint. The 5 focusing steps in eliminating constraint is identifying the constraint, exploiting the constraint, which is the second step. Third step is to subordinate everything to the constraint and synchronize all the working in line with the constraint. The fourth one is to elevate the performance of the constraint. And fifth one is repeat the process. If it has moved out, you do it in the new area. If it has not moved out, again continue from step 2. It will keep on improving. Okay? There is no limit to improvement. It is stretching to infinity. So keep on improving. Maybe small improvements. That's what we say by delta eta. Change efficiency. And how do you change the efficiency? By changing delta eta 1, delta eta 2, delta eta 3 up to infinity. That 1, 2, 3 are the various opportunities you have to improve your efficiency in various areas. Efficiency 1 may be in the sales process. Efficiency 2 may be in the production process. And that also there will be so many efficiency points. So you can try to improve in small ways. As I say, small droplets make a big ocean. So exploit the constraint continuously. There is no limit to our thinking. As I said once before, it's the brain which can think of all these things, and that has no constraint over there. So again, I repeat the 5 steps. Identify the constraint, exploit the constraint, subordinate and synchronize to the constraint, elevate the performance of constraint, repeat the process. A simplified roadmap for this is, first step, identify the constraint. You just look for accumulated inventory, expediters, management involvement, idling workforce. Let's say if there is a constraint of a machine breakdown, a regular happening, then that concerned workforce will be idle and you will find the maintenance people working there. So this is a constraint again. When the downstream machines are idling, you know that the constrained machine is not working full level. Too many incoming calls. When you analyze records also, it need not always be on the shop floor. You can analyze the records and find out where is the constraint, where you have paid more penalties, how the ISO procedures line up in your process. Maybe something says 5 days is the right time to do a thing, but do you require 5 days? Maybe you require it, you can do it in 3 days time. Or 5 days was written when fax was the mode of communication. Today email is going in a jiffy. So you can do, you can cut short that 5 days to 2 days or 3 days. Where there is customer complaints, late delivery, overtime, this is all where you find that there's a constraint. Also, the constrained machines normally breaks down more frequently than the other machine. And absenteeism is also higher at the constrained machine, because the employee at that machine, he will always be under tension and pressure that he will absent himself. So review the mission breakdowns and absenteeism and you will know where is the constraint. Second one is exploit the critical constraint. Now again, there may be several bottlenecks or constraints, but you should see which one is preventing you from making one more unit. So then exploit that critical constraint. Here, the entire objective of this attempt is to make the most of what is available. You have a machine, it has a capacity of 10. Why don't you try to make 11 out of it? Why don't you try to make 12 out of it? So maximize production time at that machine. No need for setup time, minimize the setup time, waiting time, down times. You try to minimize it. Do a need analysis of the processed items and do only what is needed. You can make all the quality checkings before the critical resources so that there is no wastage after that. Always give preferential treatment by the maintenance department. Additional operations to ease the load. This, you might ask me what it is. When I was working with Albabtain, we were doing high mast and street lighting poles. Way back, we had two machines. One was capable of folding up to 6 mm, and the other was capable of folding, I think, 8 or 10 mm. But at one time, we got some major orders where all the members were 8 mm. So, what to do? We thought about it. Then there came an idea that why don't we flame heat that steel part so that it can be folded easily. So that steel portion, that steel plate used to be flame heated. So somebody would heat it and then fold it. So it is easier. When you heat it, the steel becomes easier to fold. So this way you can do some additional operation to ease the load on the critical constraint. So whenever you exploit the constraint, you will find that it leads to more output and improved utilization. If this step 2 is fruitful and you find that your constraint is eliminated, you go to step 5, which is repeat the process in the other area where the new constraint is seen, or the new area where the constraint is seen. Otherwise, continue to step 3. What is step 3? You subordinate and synchronize everything to the critical constraint. So upstream and downstream, all the machines work in tandem with the constraint resource. For this, there is a small methodology. They call it the drum, buffer, and rope. Drum is the signal of shortage at the critical constraint. The buffer is the quantity of inventory maintained at the critical constraint, and the rope is the time needed from the store to the critical constraint. Now, I will just annotate for you. Now, let's say at this point is your constraint. So here you find the bottleneck or the narrow area. So the constraint is at this point. So whenever there is no material in this point, somebody should raise an alarm that there is no material here. This is the drum. So somebody beats up and informs everybody that there is a shortage here. So please act immediately. The next section, this is happening only when there is no material. To prevent that happening, you should keep some buffer. So you should always have some additional material lying in this area. So this is the additional material. Additional material lying in this area. Let's say you keep about 4 pieces extra. And these 4 pieces at this point will take about 1 day to work. Now this is the buffer you are keeping. Now, what is the rope? Rope is the time between the store. This is the store point. This point is a store to the buffer machine. So let's say this, of course, it should be a straight line. So this length of time, this is called the buffer. Sorry, not the buffer, the rope. The length of time is called the rope. This is the time required for the material from the store to the critical constraint. Let's say the rope is 2 days and you have 1 day buffer material. Then what happens? Once this buffer material is consumed, it has to wait for 1 more day to get the material at this point. So you should start the work here at least not 2 days before. Start at least 3 days earlier so that by the time this is consumed in 1 day, the next material is ready. You got my point? So if the buffer available is for 1 day, then you should see to it that the rope is started at least 3 days earlier so that you find that the next set of buffer is ready here. In this way, you will prevent the starving of this critical mission. Okay. So the fourth step, friends, in eliminating constraint is to elevate the performance of the constraint. We saw the first three steps, which is identifying the constraint, exploiting the constraint. This is step number 2. Step number 3 is to make the upward and downward activities, upstream and downstream activities, to synchronize with the constraint so that you get maximum out of the constraint. Now the fourth step, which is elevate the performance of the constraint. Now this is a step where you might need some investment. All the effort so far has been to enhance the capacity of the machine or the constrained machine without investing any major amount in the system. We were doing, let's say, 100 pieces with one machine. We are trying to do 110 or 120 with the same one machine by identifying the constraint, exploiting the constraint machine, or making all the activities upstream and downstream to go synchronized with the constraint machine. Now, the fourth step is to elevate the performance of the constraint. By this, we mean that you try to make that constraint machine a better machine. There are some ways to do it. One is to upgrade the machine. For example, if the machine is a machine having a capacity of 100 pieces a day, is there some way where you can invest some money and make the machine into a 150 piece machine a day? If that is the case, you upgrade the machine. You have a PC, you try to increase its capacity, or you try to find a additional storage capacity. This is what it means by upgrading or updating the machine. It might require some investment. Second one is to offload the work coming to the constraint. You must have heard of the words hollow corporation or empty corporations of late. You try to make your fixed cost into variable cost. Instead of producing the part in the organization, inside the factory, you try to outsource that part. So by this, your fixed cost becomes a variable cost. You will incur the cost only if you produce. For example, let me tell you, maintaining a car as a taxi is very expensive. But Ola came up with the model that they don't have any taxis with them. They don't own any cars. But they are operating millions of cars around the world today using technology. So for them, there is no ownership of the car. The ownership is with somebody else. And they are making that whole exercise into a variable cost. You hire a vehicle, you get paid for that time. You invest money for that time. So this is what it means by offloading your constraint or the work so that your fixed cost becomes a variable cost. Leasing of machine, renting of machine, all these are part of this offloading activity. Third one is to find equivalent alternatives. For example, you were purchasing, let's say, SS304 material, where there is a shortage of that material. You go into the market and you look whether there's an equivalent to SS304 in terms of specification. You might find that SS303 or SS305 close to it is available easily, or maybe SS30310. So you find whichever is available and go for that. Of course, without compromising on the quality or the grade of the material or the intended use of the material. So you find out equivalent alternatives so that you can utilize that, you can reduce the load on the constrained machine. Fourth way is to increase the working hours of that machine alone. This is also a common way. If there's a constrained machine and as a policy you are working 16 hours a day, only for that machine, maybe you will permit a 20 hours working. This is also possible. Next one is to increase the capacity of buying, leasing. So here you are investing in a new machine. You have exploited all the available options, that there is no other option other than buying a new machine. So for this, you go on increasing the capacity. But when you increase the capacity, be reminded that you are increasing the cost, the fixed cost increases, And until that capacity is fully utilized, you will not be able to gain anything out of it. For example, I tell you, you have one machine producing 1,000 pieces a month, and the cost of running a machine is say 1 lakh. So for 1,000 pieces, your cost is 100,000 rupees. For each piece, your cost is 100 rupees. Next time you find that your requirement is around 150, so you invest in a new machine. So now the cost of running both the machines is 2 lakh rupees. And if you're producing only 50% in the second machine, automatically your cost per piece goes up. It will not be the same 100. Instead, it will be something around 1,300. Unless you produce 2,000 pieces from both the machines together, you will not find any advantage coming from the new machine. So whenever you are increasing capacity, make sure that you are utilizing it fully. Don't buy an alternative machine unless you are going to utilize it at least 80-90%, so that your fixed cost remains lower or close to the existing. Whenever, this is a big mistake which a lot of companies do. They invest in new machine expecting new orders, but unfortunately orders don't turn up, and that machine becomes a white elephant. So increasing capacity, in this way you are elevating the performance of the constraint. So this is the fourth step. By this step, most of your constraints should be eliminated from that place. It might move to a new place, and now the task is to find the new constraint area. So this is the step number 5. Find out where is the new constraint area. So at step number 4, you have broken the constraint, I hope. If it is not broken, go back to step number 2. If it is not still happening, if it has happened already, then you find out where is the new constraint. As I said earlier, maybe it was in the production line. From production, you found that design is your constraint. So design department was set right. Then you found that the sales department was your constraint. You set right the sales department. And now you find that the market actually is low. You have a capacity for 2 lakh pieces, but you are able to get orders for only 1,30,000. And the market is only about 2 lakhs. Your competitors are eating 60, 70. So you cannot avoid the competitor. So it means that the market is now the issue. So you look for new markets outside that area. So this is how you break down the constraints. So you eliminate the constraints using the 5 steps.